Hey everyone, I just wanted to pop in here before the recording to let you know that as we were recording yesterday, on Saturday, the 6th, we pressed record, and for some reason, everything that happened before we paused the recording for the very first break isn't showing up. We can't find it anywhere. It's not a part of the one recording that we have is just showing us everything after that first break. So I just wanted to pop in here and first of all say we're sorry. We're not understanding what's happening and we're not super techie people. And I've never had that happen where just a piece of it is missing. But so I just wanted to let you know everything that we did go over and then what I did to kind of resolve this. So the first thing is it was mostly me talking. So I feel like we did get the most important piece of the discussion, which is, really breaking down the script and the question and answers and all of that was all captured. So what we missed was one, the agenda, just me kind of introducing myself and the agenda, and then I just went over some big picture items, and then Harry and I actually did a role play of the sales presentation before we actually broke it down after the break. So what I did to fix this was I do this workshop once a month, and so I just pulled from another one. The beginning part, so like the agenda, these big picture concepts, mostly everything that I'm talking in, and cut it together. So I put that in there, the sales presentation between Kasha and I, and then and then Harriet and I. Then you'll see kind of after that sales presentation, it'll be the actual replay from the May 6th closing workshop. So again, I'm super sorry. I'm not sure what happened, but we thank you for your grace, and I can assure you, you're not missing anything. I put everything that went on Saturday from a different workshop, and then I think that you guys do get the most important piece of the conversation after. So thank you so much again, and I hope that you get so much value out of the rest of this recording. All right, bye-bye.
All right.
Awesome. Well, welcome everyone to the live closing workshop. This meme here is something you might recognize from what we got started with when you registered. So this is how we want you guys to feel at the end of today. We want this closing workshop to make sales feel lighter for you, for it to be a fun experience for you and your customer. And I want to just go over what our main objective today is, and that is for you all to have written out your entire sales presentation from beginning to end, including how to set appointments. So we're going to write that script. It looks like Carrie's already got it.
Awesome.
So yeah, we want it to be done beginning to end so that when you leave this, you can start practicing it and you can start implementing it right away. Okay. And then also, just so you know, Kasha and I are going to be running this together, but Kasha is going to be more on the chat side. So we're going to be prompting you guys to write in the chat, or to, we'll unmute everyone so we can open it up for discussion, things like that. So Kasha is going to be in charge of all of that stuff today. And yeah, so I'll just go over, basically Kasha and I what we would love to do is to do introductions with everyone, but there's a lot of us on today. So Kasha and I are just going to do a brief introduction of ourselves, and then we're going to go over what the agenda is today, like what to expect from today, and then some housekeeping rules, okay? And just so you guys know, I'm going to be looking down at my notes a lot, and that's just because I don't want to miss anything. I don't want to get off on tangents because my brain can float a little bit, and I want to stay on task. I want to make sure you guys get all the information that we have planned for today, so I don't want to deviate from that plan at all. So don't mind me if my eyes are looking down, although you have this beautiful baby to look at right now in the presentation. So first I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Kristen Ferguson, And I have been a part of the Emerge community, like as a student, learning all of these amazing things, attending these workshops and going through group coaching. And it's been really fun for the last 5 months, seeing how that's impacted my business. And so for the last couple months, I've been able to be a part of the Emerge team, which has been really exciting. And so I've been the community manager. So I'm involved in all group coaching pretty much that goes on with Emerge. And I have, and now I get to do these workshops, which I'm super stoked about. Although you guys, I do have my like balance right here to keep me sane right now. So yeah, and like one other thing that I have dubbed myself on the Emerge team is the funny meme creator. So there's going to be a few memes throughout this presentation to lighten the mood and to help me relax. So that's me. Kasha, go ahead and introduce yourself real quick.
Hey, everybody. Thanks, Kristen. So super excited to be here today as well. I'm Kasha. I'm also a coach with the Emerge sales team. Similar to Kristen, I have been a student with Emerge since about June and have learned so much and, you know, feel very honored and privileged to be alongside her today to start leading workshops like this. You know, the skills that you guys are going to learn today and hopefully continue to learn as you continue to train have just been groundbreaking for my business. I know they're going to do the same for you guys. So I'm super excited for all of you. And I think, you know, the $27 you spent on the workshop today is probably the best $27 you spent for your business. So congratulations to you all. And yeah, excited for you all to learn today.
Awesome. Thanks, Kasha. So Kasha, we're calling her my DJ today because like I mentioned, she's going to be like working the turntable. So, okay, awesome. So let's go over the agenda today. This is what we're going to expect. We're going to first go over some big picture concepts, just to give you a background of what the philosophies and concepts behind Emerge sales training. We're going to talk about and have a little bit of discussion of why people don't buy. We are going to model the sales presentation for you from beginning to end. So that's going to take about 20 to 30 minutes. And Kasha and I are going to model that out so you can see the big picture before we get into breaking it down. And we are going to take a couple breaks within the workshop. And then setting appointments is going to be next. Breakdown of all the sales presentations. So each step we're going to go through each section. I'm going to break it down. We're going to even have a couple of brave souls model it each time. And then we'll open it up after each section for question and answers also. Kasha is amazing at adjusting this for her classes, and she has amazing close rates at her classes. So she's going to talk a little bit about how you can tweak this for your classes. And then we will have even some more Q&A, just like overall. And we'll talk about next steps as well. A little bit of housekeeping. The way that we're going to structure this, just because there are a lot of you and I can only see 3 faces here, so I'm not even going to think about how many people are on right now. So we're going to basically, like I mentioned, open it up. We'll unmute everyone for some question and answers. And then sometimes we'll be prompting you to actually type your responses in the chat. And then Kasha is going to help me by speaking some of those out loud. If we feel like we want someone to elaborate on something that they've typed out, then we'll unmute them, or you can unmute yourself when Kasha calls on you. So yeah, it's kind of this mix of, we have a big group. We want it to be as interactive as possible, but we also want to be, respectful of our time and make sure that we get through all the content, because we can't go 3 hours without getting through all of this amazing content. So is everyone good with that? Okay, awesome. Cool. So one last thing before we move on to the first concept is a lot of you guys are going to come up with or think of as we're starting to talk about what if questions. And a lot of these questions are going to be based off of your past experiences with your customers. And so I just want to encourage you guys to, first of all, jot those questions down as we're talking. But also to know that as we're going through each section and breaking down each concept, most of those will be answered. And just to keep in mind that all of these are going to be based off of the experiences that you've had. And what we're learning today is very different from what I'm sure you have been doing. So if by the end, when we have that very last question to answer, if those what if questions are still really bothering you, then go ahead and bring them up and we're going to address them there, okay? But does that sound good to everyone? Okay, awesome. All housekeeping done, so let's get started. And first is big picture items. And I want to first talk about the philosophy behind everything that Emerge Sales Training teaches. And we would love for you to adopt this philosophy for everything that you do in your business. And that is customer first, team second, you and your ego third. So with every approach that we take, including the sales presentation that we learned today, we want to think of it with this big picture concept in mind, that we're always going to think about the customer first. I will make the connections on why some of these concepts are so important for our team as well, and duplication. And obviously we think about ourselves last. But I think what you'll notice is that as we start thinking about our customer first and team second, everything else just falls in line, right? So I want you to have that in mind as we go through all of our concepts today. So the next big piece is, what is closing? And so I mean, if you want to start typing in the chat what your ideas of closing is, or even your ideas of what a salesperson is, because I feel like we can have some negative connotations when we hear the word closing, and we might get a little like, I don't know, tense. And yeah, I wish I could see. Let me actually pull up the chat.
Heidi says she thinks of closing as an action step. Thank you, Heidi.
An action step. What about the feelings? What feelings do we get when we think about closing?
Finding solutions for the customer's needs that best suit them, making it easy for them to buy. That's from Tanya. Closing is sealing the deal, making the sale. Jennifer.
Cool. Awesome. Okay, so let me just give you what we view what our definition of closing is, and that's helping someone move forward with a decision that they already want to make. Okay, so if anyone wasn't chiming in that had, because honestly, when I thought about closing in the past, it was always like a pushy, high pressure feel for me. So just that icky feeling. And so this concept really helped me understand my role in the process of selling my product. So reactive versus proactive closing. This is a concept that I feel like the reactive closing part, well, first I'll just kind of define the two of them. So reactive closing is handling customers' objections after they come up. So for example, this is like, you've kind of given them the presentation and they say like, I just don't have enough money for that. And then your response might be, well, do you go to Starbucks all the time? Like, getting this kit is like a latte a day for a month or something like that, like kind of having an answer or reaction for their objection. And reactive closing is also sampling and then reacting to the response that you get from that sampling by following up a few times before making the sale or before it just becomes like a dead lead. So that's one type of closing, and that's not what we teach. So what we teach is proactive closing, and that's the concept that we understand as being people. We understand why people don't buy. So we understand these reasons, and so we proactively address them before they even come up. So that's what I want you to keep in mind as we start going through the sales presentation. that, yeah, that we know what's happening. And so we just like, we address it all before it happens. And I feel like that's all I can say before we actually model it for you guys. All right, so does that sound good? Those are all of our major big picture concepts. And now we're gonna go over the sales assembly line. And the sales assembly line is basically, it's almost like the agenda for the rest of the day. This is what we're really gonna dig into. And the first piece is that we're going to set an appointment. We're going to give an agenda. We're gonna gather input from our customers. We're going to give a company story. We're going to build value by personalizing the product, and we're going to give 2 options. And then at the end, they just buy because we've made it easy for them to buy. And I think even someone put that as a definition of closing, that we make it easy for them. So that's what we're really going to dig into today. But this is where we're going to unmute you guys. And I want to get some feedback from you guys. What that people don't buy?
They were at church.
Or maybe after we can mute everyone. You can unmute yourself if you want to comment. Okay. So what are the reasons people don't buy? So go ahead and unmute yourself to give me some examples of that. And like, I'll just throw out one, like, I need to talk to my husband. So that's one reason I've heard a lot of why people don't buy. So what are some
It's too expensive.
Too expensive.
They're not sold on the fact that it's going to serve their needs. Like, they don't believe it yet.
Okay. Thank you. What else?
I had someone recently just tell me I can't sign up because my daughter-in-law is with another network marketing company.
Okay. That's an interesting one.
Kimberly Wallace says, we're really healthy overall. I think it's Jillian or Jelaine. I need to think about it. Yeah, that's a big one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Julie, I'm not sure if I'll use it regularly. Great ones.
Some people are scared by the membership.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they understand the big picture, like how many uses it has. And especially if you talk like LRP, they're like, oh, I could never, spend that much a month. And they don't understand. I never go to Rite Aid anymore. I never go to CVC. I never go to high school pharmacy. I don't need to.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else, guys? I'm just trying to figure out something on my computer before, as you guys are doing this. So I did something bonkers. Here we go. Do we have any other reasons, guys? Okay, cool. Well, that's a great list. And so I want to keep that in mind as we, as we approach all of these different sections of the sales presentation. So what Kasha and I are going to do right now is we're going to model this sales presentation for you from beginning to end. And so that's what I'm doing right now. I'm going and getting my my presentation up. Here we go. So can everyone hear me still? Kasha, am I good? Because I've minimized you guys, so it's hard for me to see what I'm doing.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, sweet. Okay, so what I want you guys to do as Kasha and I go through this appointment is, just watch and listen to us as you're the customer. So I'm going to be the rep, and Kasha is going to be the customer. And so we really wanted to do this for you guys so that you can just see the big picture before we start diving in and really breaking down each section of this. And so I want you to jot down notes as we're going through this of and thinking of like how you think the customer feels. So if you're receiving this as a customer, how it all makes you feel, what's easy and hard. Like if it was easier or hard, or if, as a rep, does it feel like it's easier or difficult? And And then if you think you can do this, so I want you to put yourself in both shoes, like receive it as the customer and then watch me as the rep, and just, you know, even picture yourself doing it and seeing if it's something you think you and your team can do. Okay, so Kasha, are you ready to role play this with me?
Totally ready.
Awesome. Okay, so Kasha, today we're going to talk about your health needs, what an essential oil is, and how to use them. Oh, and by the way, sorry guys, you don't have to try and like write this out, because when we break down each section of the sales presentation, you guys are going to have plenty of time to write out the script. So like I mentioned, that's our number one goal today. So this is the time to just kind of write down your thoughts. Okay, starting over. Today we're going to talk about your health goals, what an essential oil is, how to use them, and 10 of the most popular ones. You don't have to buy anything if you don't want to, but if you see something you like, of course, I'll help you order it today. So that I don't bore you with a whole bunch of information that you don't care about, what are some of your health needs?
Well, I've got 2 kids at home and they get allergies a lot.
Okay.
And I get really bad headaches.
Okay.
And, you know, being like a busy mom, and, you know, I think sleep is a big one, like helping my kids sleep, or even me helping it get a good night's sleep.
Okay.
Yeah, those are really the big ones.
Okay. Anything else?
I mean, like my daughter's one, so like sometimes she gets like, you know, a diaper rash or.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so what I have here is allergies, you get headaches, your whole family needs help sleeping, and yeah, and just simple diaper rashes. Great. Okay, so we're going to make sure that we, you know, go over all of those, talk about all of those for you today.
Okay, great.
Okay, awesome. So now tell me a little bit about what you already know about doTERRA or essential oils.
I mean, I don't really know a lot. I see my friends posting about it on Facebook all the time. You know, like I like shop at Sprouts and Whole Foods a lot, so I like see their oil section there. But I don't really know a lot about the oils. They smell good.
Okay. Okay, great. No, that's great to know. Okay, well, I'm going to tell you a little bit about doTERRA. doTERRA is the largest essential oil distributor in the world. People turn to doTERRA when their current approach to health is not achieving the results that it was supposed to. They're tired of using chemical concoctions for literally everything. They're confused by all of the natural options out there, and they never have time to research it all, or they're just confused about researching it all. They want more energy to do the things that they love without the side effects of stimulants. And they just want to increase the overall quality of life for their family. So doTERRA offers a full line of essential oil kits to support your family's health goals, whatever they are. And doTERRA has raised the bar in the essential oil industry. There's no fillers, no artificial ingredients, no pesticides, and no dilution. The plants are grown in their ideal environments all around the world, and they go through 6 levels of testing to ensure purity and potency. And this means that when you see the doTERRA label, you can just be assured that you are getting the highest health benefits. And one last thing, doTERRA just has really great customer service. So if you don't like it, you can try something and you don't like it, if you return it within 30 days, you can get 100% product credit to try something else, or 90% returned back to your card. So how does that sound?
That sounds amazing.
Cool. Do you have any other questions about the company?
No, not right now.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so I'm just going to do a little timeout right here, because this is where I would talk about what an essential oil is and how to use them. And we're not going to cover that in the scope of today. That's just something assumed that you guys all do in your presentations already. So now I'm going to go into our into our products. So, okay, so now I'm going to talk about our 10 most popular oils. The first oil that I have here is peppermint. And earlier you mentioned that you get headaches.
Yeah.
So peppermint is going to be the one that you use for that. You'll just put a little bit, a drop on your temples, and that should give you relief right away. Does that sound good?
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Awesome. Also, another cool thing about peppermint is, when you are trying to wake up early in the morning, your alarm goes off and you just want to hit that snooze button more than anything in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. So peppermint's a really great one to keep on your nightstand. The second that alarm goes off, you just put a drop in your hands, take a deep breath in, and it's going to open up your airways and wake you right up, give you that boost of energy first thing in the morning. Cool?
Oh, awesome.
Awesome. Okay, so the next oil in our kit is lemon. So earlier you mentioned allergies. Now, sometimes you guys get that like mucus in the back of your throat when allergy season happens or when your allergies start acting up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I do is I put a drop of lemon in my water and just take a glass of that in the morning, and that just clears that right up. It really helps a lot. And then also you mentioned you have kids. So do they ever just put stickers all over everything in the entire house?
Yes, I found one on my bookshelf yesterday.
Yeah. So lemon is going to take that right off, believe it or not. It's
really?
easy. Yeah, it's super awesome. Okay, and the next oil in our kit is lavender. So lavender, you mentioned earlier that your whole family needs sleep.
Yes.
So what I would do is put a few drops in your diffusers at night, and I would also maybe just put a drop on all of your pillowcases, or even put some lavender on the bottom of your feet, and you guys should all sleep like babies at night. So lavender is really relaxing. So does that sound good to you?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. And then also, like during summer, we get those mosquito bites when we're outside at night. Things like that. Lavender is so perfect to soothe those itchy bites, when those pesky things show up. Awesome. Okay, does that sound good?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay, so let's pretend like I've gone through all 10 oils in that exact same way. And now I'm getting ready to tell Kasha about our 2 most popular kits. Okay, so now I'm going to share with you the 2 most popular kits. The first one is the Family Essentials Kit, and it comes with all 10 oils that we just talked about. They come in 5 milliliter bottles, which is about 85 drops or 85 servings. The next kit is the Home Essentials Kit, and that comes with the same 10 oils in 15 milliliter bottles, which is about 250 servings or 250 drops. And it comes with a diffuser. So if you're going to get one, which one would you prefer?
Definitely the one with the bigger bottles.
Okay, awesome. Well, the Home Essentials Kit is $275. And let me tell you about my first appointment special, where you can either get a breathe stick or a 5 milliliter bottle of lavender by ordering this kit today. So which would you prefer, clear lungs or better sleep tonight?
Oh, better sleep for sure.
Awesome. Okay, so I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask you, what would you like to get this kit today and get your lavender for free?
Well, the $275 is a little bit out of my budget.
Okay, that's great, no problem. The Family Essentials Kit is a great kit. It's $150, and it comes with each of the oils, just smaller bottles to get you started. And of course, I would still give you that lavender for free. So does that work better for you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great. So let's get the paperwork going for that, and blah, blah, blah. Then we just do some closing, like, well, it was so nice hanging out with you, or whatever, those kinds of things. Okay, so let's, I guess we've decided we're not going to open it up, like unmute all, but as you guys received that as the customer, how does it, and thinking about all the big picture concepts that we just went over, I want to get some feedback from you guys. I want to hear your very first reactions to just seeing that presentation?
So super easy.
Super easy.
Is that Bertha?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
You met my needs. Catherine said you met my needs.
Okay.
Let's see. Jennifer said, I used the script the last appointment I had, but didn't use the first appointment special, which would have been helpful.
Okay.
Carrie, never seen it before. Love it. So simple. Needs met. Yes. Miranda, wow. So clear and concise. No confusion.
So Tanya's asking, you know, like the 3 ways, like aromatically, topically. I'm not covering that in the training today. So that would be right before I get into the products. I would explain what an essential oil is briefly, and I would explain those 3 ways of how to use essential oils. But I'm just assuming that you guys all, you know, do that in your presentations already. Cool. Okay, so if you have other questions, we'll just, I think, table them until the end, unless, Kasha, you see any ones that you feel like would be good to answer right now.
Shannon said, I've heard based on this script to use your most common kits you sell and go up one. So if I sell the Home Essentials kit, usually to offer the Home Essentials kit and the Natural Solutions, would that not be best?
I've heard based on the script to use your most common kits and sell. I would just say, I think it just comes down to your percentage of your closing percentage. So if you haven't used this script yet, I would stick with this until you've done it a few times, and then you can just go up one, because the script for a Natural Solutions kit is just a tad different.
Yeah.
It's like one level higher of like difficulty. And so I would just practice with this a few times.
If I could just chime in on that, Shannon, that's a great question. And like Kristen said, you know, if you're having success with selling the Home Essentials, then, you know, you could use the Home Essentials and the Natural Solutions as your 2 options. But it's definitely a more advanced closing technique to obviously be selling a kit that has a higher price point. So we're teaching basic starter concepts today with the 2 most popular kits, which is the Family Essentials and the Home Essentials. The goal really is to just give 2 options at the end. Oh, you're welcome.
Okay. I just answered Maggie's question in the chat.
Okay, perfect.
Oh, and Carrie did too. Thanks, Carrie. Okay, so what about the question of, did that feel easy for everyone? Did it feel easier than what you're doing right now anyways? Yeah? Okay, and then what about you and your team? Do you feel like you and your team, whether they're new or been doing this for a while? Much easier. Yes, yes.
Short, fast, easy. Absolutely. Love it.
Awesome. Yeah, the fast part, let's talk about that. So 3 oils that I went over with Kasha, how long did that take me?
I think I don't know.
Like 30 seconds each.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm nervous, and so I'm talking a lot faster than I should be. Like normally I would be like sitting with a friend and hanging out, and it wouldn't be so crazy. So I would say 45 seconds to a minute each. And so if you think of the top 10 essential oils that we're going over, you know, that's no more than 10 minutes usually. And they might have a question here or there that might make it, you know, an 11 to 13 minute section of your presentation. Jennifer Barnett says, my teens who have seen this love it. Yeah, Jennifer Barnett is going through this training and is already loving it, which is awesome. When you talk about the loyalty rewards program at the follow-up appointment?
Great question.
That is a great question. Cool. And then just remember that customer first. What do we think about that concept in the sales presentation? Do you feel like we're falling in line with our philosophy there?
Love customer first. It works well. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It just feels so natural. Yes, Carrie. Yeah.
Right. And then team second, if we're thinking about duplication, right? We're not like these all-knowing experts where they feel like they can't do this. I can't do it. You do. You know everything.
Jenny, do you set up a follow appointment at this appointment? Yes, you would at the end.
Yes, in short. And guys, a lot of these questions are, we'll talk about the end too, as far as like next steps, what to do after this training.
Bertha, just what we need to be doing. Yeah, absolutely. Carol Ann, have you already gone through the script of the closing? I must have been off on my times. No, Carol, we're just getting into, we just modeled the sales presentation, and then we're going to be actually breaking down each part of the presentation, so you guys can all write out your scripts today. Carrie.
Oh, I love what Carrie says.
I know, I love it too. It's been so overwhelming. Tear sheets, programs, sampling, Edge, Share Success, Crazy Town, jumping all over. So relieved to just have one simple thing. Yes, absolutely.
Great input. I love that. Okay, you guys. So do we have any other questions about this? And then second question is, do you feel I have a scheduled break right now, but this was supposed to take me until 10 o'clock. So do you feel like you want to get up for 5 minutes or keep going?
Keep going.
Keep going. We can totally keep going, guys, and we'll just take a break, in about 20 minutes. Is that
Jelaine, and I apologize if I'm botching your name. She said, do you bring oils to the class? That's a great question. It depends. I would say yes. But you'd only need to bring the top 10. That's it. Nothing else. And if you actually weren't having a class, maybe this is a shocking idea, but you can actually sell over the phone.
Oh yeah, Carrie, we'll totally get there. Tanya and Carrie, your guys' question about classes. That's later on in the presentation. Kasha's gonna share with us her ninja class that she does. Cool. I brought most of the top 10 in Clarycom. She asked about hormonal support, her main concern. Yeah. Does anyone know, can we get some feedback on why we would only bring the top 10 oils?
Too overwhelming. Yes, not to overwhelm. Don't want to overwhelm them. Absolutely, you guys.
Yep, that's the reason.
Yep.
Too many options, way too many options. And this is why our presentations go 2 hours, because they start asking questions about all of the things that we've brought them, including tear sheets and programs and, product guides, things like that.
Sandy had a great point. She said they may not like the oils that are not in the kit. So, if they like an oil that's not in the kit, then that's the one that they want to buy.
Yeah. But what, my question to that, or my kind of response to that, or my question to you is that serving the customer? If we're thinking about customer first, what do we all know about the kit? Right? We know that the kit is what they need, because if they get a bottle of Serenity because that's the only one they like, and their kid comes down with the flu next week, it's not gonna help them, right? So things like that. So thinking about this person as a whole person and knowing that their questions aren't based off of the experience that we know. We know about the kits, we know about what, how beneficial they are. And does that make sense? Rather than answering their questions about their, just their, stress and anxiety. We know that there's so much more to their life that this Home Essentials kit and Family Essentials kit is going to help. Does that make sense?
There's been some great feedback. The kit is the best value with the most uses. They have everything they need to start with. Mm-hmm. They serve everyday needs. It's a great starting point. Carrie, you mean my 100 oils are too much? I was overwhelmed with my family physician's kit, but I had the tools. Absolutely, yeah. I mean, for people who've never heard about essential oils, for me as a customer, if I have only seen what I've seen on Facebook or only seen what I've seen in Sprouts or Whole Foods or what have you, it's super overwhelming getting started. I mean, just go put yourselves back when you guys were first getting started. You're like, where do I start? How do I use this? It's like learning a new language. So rather than throwing, the whole pie at them, we're, starting them off with just a slice. And it's, the basic needs that they're going to have.
Yeah. And just remember, you're going to have that follow-up appointment or, the wellness consult. And that's where you get to really dive in and open up the world of doTERRA to them. Just not on that first appointment. It's too confusing, and confused customers definitely have to think about it or ask their husbands. So cool. Okay. So shall we move on, you guys? Let me pull up my presentation again. That was some great discussion. Thank you so much for all of your inputs. Let's see. Kasha, should I show them the PowerPoint?
Yeah.
Oil one?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I should have done. Hello. So we will make sure that you guys have access to this. We'll put it in your online course that you got, your workshop course in Emerge. Why is that not going? There you go. So this is a PowerPoint presentation that Tasha actually, found. It's a doTERRA, the doTERRA one, and she tweaked it a little bit to fit our presentation. Although we take out my story because it's about their story, and it's just a really beautiful PowerPoint that doTERRA created, and it helps us just keep on task in our presentation. So there, Tanya, that's your answer of like, yes, we do go over the essential oils and how we use them, some safety tips, and then here's where we just go through the top 10. So it's just really pretty. It's just a good, if you want to print these out and put them in a binder or, but remember, we won't talk about each of the bullet points in each one of these. We're just going to do exactly what I talked about, where we're going to connect it back to their health goals, because customer first, right? You're going to hear me say customer first, like throughout this entire presentation. It's because I want to drive it home. And then we're going to give them one future, like you can also use it for this example. And then at the end, we just give them the two. This is obviously an old presentation, so it says family physician's kit, but we're just going to give them the two options. There's this kit and there's this kit. And that's it. So we'll make sure you guys have access to this, okay? Does that sound good?
Mm-hmm. Shannon said, could I have this open in a one-on-one on a computer? Yes.
That's exactly why we have it. Okay. All right, we're going to talk about the birthday party. I know that sounded really weird. Okay, so let me press play on here so you can see it. Okay, perfect. So you guys can all see that, right? My slides. Yeah. Okay. So I just want to lay out a little bit of foundation before we talk about our first point, which is setting up appointments. A lot of you have probably heard this before. We just want to talk through a little bit about this. And if you have heard of Emerge before or Tasha's trainings before, you may have heard like, oh my gosh, like Emerge is saying no more sampling. And so we just want to make sure that we are not playing like a game of telephone. So even if you have heard stuff like that, the point is that we just want to kind of talk through those scenarios and make sure that we're doing the best practices for our own business. So, so just to kind of like clear that up, when we talk about sampling here, we always talk about being good humans and to help people. So if your neighbor has a headache, certainly don't try and force an appointment on them without helping them with some peppermint. But we're just talking as a core sales strategy in like, you know, gathering up 10 to 20 to 30 samples to send out in the mail, follow up, you know, that as a sales strategy, that's what we're asking to have the conversation around. So I just want to put that out there because there's, you know, some of the controversial things that Tasha has said in past trainings is like a game of telephone now. And so we just want to be like, no, we want you to help people still. So I just wanted to put that out there, especially for those of you who have seen the training or heard of the training. So I just want to talk a little bit about this scenario of being at a social event, like a birthday party or at the park or on a play date or at a wedding, whatever it is. I just want to ask these questions or bring these questions to the forefront of, you know, why does selling on the fly not work? And does anyone understand what I mean when I say selling on the fly, like what that is, or have any ideas about it?
You're wanting an answer from somebody, aren't you?
Yeah.
Okay. Why not? So selling on the fly is like when you're at the pool with your kids and you bring your doTERRA stuff out and somebody's like, oh, what's that? And you're like, oh, blah,
yeah,
crazy eyes, word vomit, doTERRA, everything, instead of saying, hey, let's set up an appointment and I can tell you more about it. Like your pool time with your family should be pool time with your family. Your library time should be your library time, not like crazy eye, word vomit, doTERRA, oh my gosh, it's the best in the world.
Yeah.
So selling on the fly is when you get that, you lose your mind a little.
The crazy eyes that you've been talking about. Yeah. That's totally what it is. It's giving them information right then and there. Too much information. This goes back to that sales assembly line that I talked about, where we tend to want to start telling the company story about how amazing doTERRA is before we get them in a place that makes sense. So the reasons why selling on the fly is not, you know, that may not be appropriate is because one, like, are they even in the place to take in that information or process it in a way that gives it the respect, especially for the value of our product and that it's not a commodity product. It's definitely a value product. And so are they able to take that information in is one thing to think about. And then if we do get to the point of like, I mean, are they even able to make a buying decision at that point? Like mentally or physically, I'm not sure if they would. And I love what you said. Can you just pronounce your name one more time for me?
Yep, it's Orshika. It's an SH sound. Mm-hmm.
Okay, Orshika. Thank you. So yeah, I love what you said, Orshika, of like pool time should be pool time, or park time with the kids should be park time, or being at my kid's soccer game should be that time. And I do think that it gives our businesses the respect that it deserves. And we're respecting our customers by not word vomiting on them if they didn't ask for it necessarily. And even if they do start asking questions, we'll talk about the usually approach, which is the script we'll give you as far as setting up appointments, where you can transition that to put them, because remember, we're thinking about customers first, and sometimes customers first does not mean answering all of their questions right then and there. But we know that it's a value product that they just need to, not be overwhelmed by. And so, we know that sitting one-on-one with them or in a class setting, if that's what you do more in your business, is best for them. So that's what I love about that. And we always bring up that lawyer story of like, if you needed a lawyer for whatever reason, like you needed to hire an assistant or something, and you were looking at contracts and just had no idea what in the world you were doing, and you at this same social event ran into a lawyer, like a contracts lawyer. And we're just like, hey, oh my gosh, like you're a lawyer. I've been looking around myself. I have no idea what to do. And then I just think it's hard for us to imagine that lawyer busting out their briefcase and starting to kind of word vomit on us on, all kinds of contracts, and here's what you should do. And so what would they do? Does anyone want to chime in or even put it in the chat?
Run.
Well, no, what would the lawyer do?
Oh, he would give you his card or even schedule an appointment time when he could talk to you about that, and really go ahead and make sure that you want to choose him to, actually.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's exactly what a lawyer would do. And, I think that we have the thought in our head, like, well, of course they would, because then they could charge us. But it's, I think, one, setting themselves up as professionals, and what makes us different from a lawyer in being professional is really nothing, not if we treat our businesses like a professional business. So that for one, and I think that it serves the customer first. Like if I'm that person, I don't want to be overwhelmed at that point. I'm not even in the position to make a buying decision. I don't know if I would even see the value of it. And so of course it would benefit the lawyer, but only because he's serving me and he or she is serving me and my needs. So that's what I, we always bring up that scenario because I feel like a good analogy of kind of the difference of us word vomiting on people just because we have our oils on us all the time, which is great. And I think it's a good, way to bring up oils when people ask about it. So we're just going to teach you a different way today. And then we'll talk let's talk a little bit about samples right now. And so, like I mentioned, of course, if you're at the soccer game and someone has a headache, like let them use your peppermint, things like that is not what we're talking about. We are talking about the core sales strategy of our business being like this sending batch samples out or, if you get to that point in the conversation of wanting to hand them a sample as a sales strategy, like here, take this home. I'm going to follow up with you about it. This is where we would recommend, instead of doing that, we're going to say usually what I do. And that's the script that we'll talk about in a second. And the reasons for that is, I'm not going to go into all of the scenarios right now because I think it takes up a lot of time. And some of you guys have even heard of it. I won't go into detail on them, but basically there's a scenario where they don't use it. And so we're stuck in this really difficult position. Another scenario is they do use it, but they use all of the other things like NyQuil or DayQuil, all of that stuff. And then you're kind of stuck in this another awkward scenario where you asked how they liked it. And they're just like, I liked it, but I'm not sure because I did a whole bunch of stuff to get myself back to work or, back to taking care of the kids. And then, so that's kind of awkward transition into asking them to buy or asking them to a class or whatever our strategy is. And then even if they do like it, it's a lot of the times it's that retail wholesale conversation, right? Like, I loved this breed. Oh my gosh, it was amazing. Where do I get it or how do I buy it? And then we're still, even in that situation, stuck in a little bit of what do I say? Because we're like, well, you can do wholesale, which would be awesome. And then you try and like throw up the value of wholesale account to them. Or you can just buy it retail, but nobody buys retail. Don't buy retail. Or come to a class that I have in about a week or two from now. So a lot of the ways we look at how samples end up, it all ends up still being a little bit awkward or hard or difficult for us to transition that into a kit sale. And so am I resonating with people right now? Like, are people understanding that or agreeing or disagreeing with that with me? Because I would love to hear opinions. But that's just kind of where we come from, where we think that the people that do buy from samples, because of course it happens, right? Someone will buy a kit from a sample. Maybe it's right away, maybe it's 6 months down the road after we followed up a few times. But even in those cases, we would argue that it's usually because at one point or another, we sat down with them, whether it was a class or a one-on-one, we connected their health goals to the kit, and then they saw the value in it. So the sample could have been maybe the door in, but we think that if someone accepted a sample, they may also accept an invitation to an appointment or a class. And the results of our students have continued to back that up over and over again. So I just wanted to put that out there and not spend tons of time on it. But if you do have questions about it, you can put it in the chat, and then maybe even Harriet, if there are questions that you're able to answer in the chat, and if not, just kind of point them out to me. And then, so real quickly, what are reasons that people don't want to book an appointment with us or with anyone, like you as a customer? What are reasons that might make you like weary of setting up an appointment or whatever? What are the reasons why you just wouldn't set up an appointment with somebody? And you can unmute yourself or put in the chat. Anybody?
So Terry wrote it, hard pressure for sale.
Okay. They're afraid they're going to be pressured to buy. Anything else? How about I have no time? Am I going to be there for hours?
Yeah. I'll share some of my experiences. They asked me to go, but I don't know what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're like, oh, it's going to be fun, just come in. But then I don't get any details, like how long it's going to be, what information is actually going to be going over. So like, you're like, okay, I could blindly go and see what happens. So
yeah,
the expectations aren't clear of what I can, what's actually.
Is this a sneaky MLMer who's going to try and sell me the opportunity? Maybe. We're not like that, doTERRA, I know. But people don't know that all the time. Anything else? Yeah, I mean, I feel like those are the main things. Just like, I don't know what to expect. What are we even going to cover? I don't have the time for an appointment because I don't know how long I'm going to be stuck there for. And I don't want to feel pressured to buy. So now I'm going, book an appointment. I'm a huge Friends fan. So a lot of my memes have Friends in it. So yes, this is what we suggest. So instead of doing things like word vomiting or sampling, or even sometimes inviting to waiting for a class to come up, we suggest appointment setting. So first script of the day. I'm sorry it took so long to get to our first script, you guys. That's why it's a 3-hour workshop. So set up an appointment. And if you have been in the Emerge community at all, we call this the usually approach. So people usually say like, oh, I usually approached them or something like that. So this is kind of a term that's becoming well known in the Emerge community as the usually approach. And it's just, the word usually is just such an easy transition. So I'll even put it in like a transition type of statement where if Harriet and I were at the pool, and she started asking me questions about like, oh, you're using lavender. Why are you using lavender? What is it? I might, answer that question and be like, oh, these are such great questions. And so usually what I do is set up an appointment to talk about your health needs and a little bit about doTERRA, some of the most popular products. And my part takes about 30 minutes. You wouldn't have to buy anything if you don't want to, but if you see something you like, of course, I would help you order it. So is that something you would be open to? So it's just like a natural way to say, instead of me word vomiting, and you could even say that like, oh, I kind of like, I need to focus, like we're at our kids' soccer game. Like, I would love to talk to you more about this, elsewhere, usually what I do. So it's almost like anything that you say, you can follow up with usually what I do. That's why we call it the usually approach. So let me get your guys' thoughts of, go ahead and put it in the chat. Is this something that you can picture yourself doing, like in your own words? And these are words that you can change up if you need to. The main point of this is the three concepts, and that is we're going to give them the agenda. Here's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about your health needs, a little bit about the company, some of the most popular. I usually actually say kits. So this might be my old script that I use. So you can put popular products, popular kits. I don't think it matters. Kits is just what flows out of my mouth faster and easier. So that's the first thing, is like setting up the agenda so that they're not confused. They feel comfortable. They know what they're talking about, or they know what they're going to be talking about. And not only do they know what we're going to be talking about, but we are going to be talking about them. So we're going to be talking about your health needs. So that right there gives value to the appointment that you're going to have with them. And then we're going to tell them how long it takes. So my part will take about 30 minutes. That's important because, of course, there's chit chat and there's things like that. So they might be at, you guys might be at Starbucks longer than 30 minutes, but that your core presentation will be 30 minutes. And then you don't have to buy anything if you don't want to, but if you see something you like, of course, I'll help you order it. So this is removing pressure to buy. So those are the three components. So whatever wording you want to use for that, even if, trying to think of what other, I would just say, the couple of words that we want to stay away from is interested. So, we're asking consent at the end too. So rather than saying, are you interested in that? Is that something you'd be open to, is just a stronger statement. And it's not, interested is like it just lacks a little bit of confidence. So something you'd be open to is just a little bit more strong of a statement, but it's still asking for consent, and it's certainly not a pressure statement. And the other word is obligated. So obligated is just like, it's also the same thing, where it just kind of decreases the confidence a little bit. Like you don't feel obligated to buy anything. So instead we would say, you don't have to buy anything if you don't want to. If you see something you like, of course, I'll help you order it. So this is removing the pressure to buy, but it's also being real and truthful and honest, because we are not going to pressure them to buy, but we are going to ask them to buy at the end of, so we're setting that out there so they know that this isn't just an education class. So that could be the unintentional, sneaky thing that we might do, and completely unintentional, obviously. But when we invite people to a class, or say that we're only an educator, and then we ask them to buy things, sometimes people come to a class expecting it to just be a class. Like they just don't even realize that it's somewhat of it is a sales conversation or a sales presentation kind of, and we do want to educate our customers, but we also want to let them know that we're going to give them the opportunity. So how does everyone feel about this? Does anyone want to practice it? And by practice, I mean read the screen. You don't have to be fancy smanchy for your first one.
And then, Kristen, I'm just going to add something really quick.
Yeah,
so,
please do.
I think just to emphasize where the section says my part will take 30 minutes, a lot of the students that are in the course with me right now are like, Harriet, 30 minutes? Are you crazy? Like, that's really short, right? And so you're emphasizing that your part takes 30 minutes. And so you can add in there because a lot of them are really conscious about other people's time. And so some of them had added in like, my part will take 30 minutes, but I want to make sure that I don't cut you off so we can plan for an hour or something like that. So then that way you're not going into it, it's going to be 30 minutes. Because I think sometimes they hear 30 minutes and they're like set on that. And then if it goes over, then they're like, okay, that just took a lot longer. So maybe, so I know that's something that
I love that.
So if it makes you feel better to say, my part takes 30 minutes, but, we can plan for an hour because I don't want to cut you off if you have any questions or something of that nature.
Oh, I love that. Harriet, this is why we have awesome sales coaches. That's so great. So yeah, that's a really great addition. So how is everyone doing with writing this down? I want to make sure everyone gets all the words. And then when you get all the words down on paper, that's when you can kind of do some crossing out with some of the suggestions that we've made. Like, you can do kits or products, whichever one feels comfortable. You can say health goals, health concerns. So the point is to make this feel like yourself. And the way we're going to do that is by practicing this. So we definitely encourage you to practice all of these things afterwards. And you will see once you practice once, twice, 3 times, you'll start saying things. It'll start flowing a little better and you can make your adjustments. Like when I had new builders, we would kind of craft the script, and as they were practicing with me, they would say different things that were just their personality that came out into the script. And so I would change it for them as they were talking. And so I think that's super valuable to hear yourself say it out loud. You will find, I feel like some people feel like scripting feels so like confined and not natural. But that's the point, is to kind of start here and then make it yourself, if that makes sense. How does everyone feel about that?
I see head nods, Kristen.
Awesome. Okay. Thanks, Harriet. So who does want to practice it right now? Let's have one person practice it.
Yeah. We have 16 people on the call today.
Just one. Just need one.
Sure.
Yay.
Somebody needs to be the brave soul.
Thank you.
Apparently, I'm the brave soul today.
You are the brave soul. That's totally fine.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Go for
Yay.
it.
Thanks, Terry. I appreciate that. Okay. So am I just going into it or?
Yeah. You don't have to do the whole transition thing. So just start with usually.
Okay, so usually when I set up an appointment, and it takes about 30 minutes. My time takes about 30 minutes, but I'd really like to schedule about an hour, just so in case you have some health concerns that you would like to discuss with me in greater detail. So my section, my part takes about 30 minutes. We'll talk a little bit about your health needs, and that'll determine really how long the appointment is. We'll talk a little bit about the company, just some really basic things. I'm not going to bore you with anything, and some of the most popular products. You don't have to buy anything if you don't want to, but of course, if you see something that you like, that's what I'm here for, and I will be more than happy to help you start your doTERRA journey. Is that something you'd be open to?
Yay, awesome. See, that's exactly what happens. Like, as long as all of those components are there, then you're good. Like, you made it yourself, and it sounded natural, and you covered all of the things that would make me uncomfortable with booking an appointment with you. So awesome. Thank you, Arshika. All right. How do we all feel about that? And does everyone have it written down? Or does anyone not have it written down yet? We good?
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
I see some dens and yeses and some head nods.
Okay, cool. And then always, like when we're done recording at the end, if you need to go back to some slides, I can stay on for a little bit after we're done with the whole thing and stop recording, and then we can go back. Okay, perfect. So after we set up the appointment, the rest of our scripting is going to be the actual sales presentation. So the usually approach is separate, and then this rest of it is like going to be your sales presentation. So the agenda, let's see if this sounds familiar to anybody. So today we're going to talk about your health goals, a little bit about the company, and some of the most popular oils. Blah, I forgot to change it to kits again. My part will take about 30 minutes. You don't have to buy anything if you don't want to, but if you see something you like, of course, I'll help you order it today. Does that sound familiar? It is the same agenda that we gave. And when we set the agenda at the beginning, it does a couple of things. First, it does all of the same things that it did when we set up the appointment. So it's putting them at ease. It's letting them know what we're going to cover today. It's, setting them at ease with the time commitment that, that will be, like how long we'll be there. So it just makes them feel a little more comfortable. You don't have to buy anything if you don't want to, but if you see something you like, of course, I'll help you order it. And please add today at the end of that. That's another adjustment that we've kind of made recently. In that now that you're there at the appointment, it's just like, okay, so I don't have to buy anything. That removes the pressure for them again. But if you see something you like, of course, I'll help you order it today. So one cool thing about saying you don't have to buy anything besides removing the pressure is it also just right away, I don't know, if someone tells you not to do something, it makes you want to do it a little bit more. It's just kind of in our nature. And so it does do that like knee-jerk reaction to our customers or to ourselves of just like, but what if I want to buy something? Like, right away you just have that that reverse reaction. And then the cool thing about the next part is that when you see something you like, of course, I'll help you order it today. So right after they have that knee-jerk reaction, we tell them if you see something you like. And so it automatically gives them permission to start making a list in their minds of the things that they like today. And what am I going to do if I like things today? I'm probably going to order them. So what does everyone think about this agenda? And does it feel comfortable to you all? And can you picture yourself doing it at the beginning of a presentation? And I will remember that this is all going to be one-on-one, and then I'll give you the adjustments for the class at the end. There's just little adjustments so you can kind of make the adjustments for classes later. And then also, I do want someone to, you know what I'm going to do, because it is driving me just a little bit crazy to have it just keep sitting there. Doesn't that feel better? Okay. Okay, that makes me feel so much better. So go ahead and
maybe you'd like it. Maybe it'd be even better if you say the most popular oils available as convenient kits.
Yep, you could do that too. That's perfect. Especially like I would keep that for the agenda and not necessarily for the usually approach, because the usually approach you want to keep as concise as possible because it's just like a quick interaction. But I think that is appropriate to put in the agenda to, just even make it a little more clear of what you're going over today. Yeah. So I think any adjustments that you want to make, just continue to go back to that customer first, team second model, especially because we want to think of our teams and how how easy is this going to be to duplicate to our teams? So we don't want to start throwing in anything that's going to differentiate from maybe our team members. So nothing like, I feel like especially in like the like company story section, like we want to make it as duplicatable as possible. And that's the point, is to make this simple, because our customers just don't care about all the crazy stuff like the letters CPTG. They don't care. They don't know what it means. We understand the value of it. And so let's just tell them the value of it instead of saying random letters to them. So yeah, things like that. I just want you to continue to think of that customer first. So if I add this piece to my script, how does that affect the customer? How will that make my customer feel? Am I making it a little more complicated for my customer to buy at the end of this? So yeah. Harriet, do you have anything to add here?
No, just, to, go on what you said, just truly making it you. And that's one of the things that I, share in the course, and the thing is, the keys to practice. So I know that we're on the call and it's the first time we're meeting everybody today, but I promise you, the more you say it out loud and not just read it, and if you don't want to read it today in front of all of us, then what I encourage you to do is record yourself and listen in here, and then just keep practicing, because it might sound odd at first. And then again, like Kristen said, you tweak it and make it truly comfortable for you to say.
Awesome. Does everyone have this written down? And is there anyone who would like to practice this today?
Raise your hand. Tom gave me a smile. Tom, was that a yes? You want to? Yeah?
Anybody? Go for it, Tom, if you want to.
Okay, I'm unmuted now.
Yay!
One thing I noted, though, too, is I don't know if anybody else picked up on this, but we're talking about them at first, that they're the most important thing, their health goals, and then we're talking about the company and the kits, and then we're talking about us, but then we're bringing it right back to them at the end of it.
Love it. Exactly. And that's why putting that in the usually approach is so important too, because then they understand, cool, I'm good with talking about myself. That's people's favorite topics. All right, Tom, did you want to practice this today real quick?
Sure.
Awesome.
Today we're going to talk about your health goals, a little bit about the company and some of the most popular kits. My part's going to take about 30 minutes. You don't have to buy anything, but if you see something you like, of course, we'll help you order it today.
Awesome. Oh, that's just so beautiful and perfect. Thank you, Tom. And thanks for that input. I love that. That is the whole customer first philosophy. So that's just right on. Okay, does everyone have this written down before I move on to the next slide? I think we're good. It's a pretty simple one. All right, so gathering input. So as Tom just mentioned, the very first thing after the agenda is talking about them. So this is how we're going to do that. So we're going to gather input. And the first thing we want to do is give them the permission to add things to our agenda. So we give them, here are the most basic things, or here's the core of what we're going to talk about today. Is there anything else you want to make sure we cover today or that we go over today? Sometimes here they will immediately start going into their health concerns, and that's totally fine. Just let them. And then sometimes they'll say something like, oh, I just want to make sure I know how to use these oils. Like, I'm not sure how to use them, or like, what is even an essential oil? And so just to, kind of put you at ease that most things that they say, if anything at all, it's going to be things that we're already going to cover. When we talk about, oh, I just want to learn a little bit more about doTERRA or more about essential oils. It's exactly what we're going to be covering today. And so in that case, you just like, okay, great. Like, I have that jotted down. So there's usually it's a, oh, that sounds good, type of response from them, but we do want to give them permission to add to our agenda if they need to. And another thing that this does is this right on top of the agenda is it really does help with keeping your entire presentation on track for that 30-minute time frame. So that they don't have these questions coming up throughout the presentation, because they already know what it is that we're going to cover, if that makes sense. It just kind of helps keep control of the conversation. So that input question is just important in that aspect too. The next part, so I have here my wording. This is what I say, is that I don't want to, so that I don't bore you with a whole bunch of information that you don't care about. That might be a little too casual for some people. And so the other alternative to that would be, I really want to personalize this presentation to you today. You can write that down too. And even Harriet, if you can put that in the chat, I really want to personalize this presentation to you today, or personalize or tailor this. I don't know. Is there another word besides presentation that anyone wants to use? Conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Class.
Yep, totally. If you're in front of a group, you definitely could say that. I really want to personalize this class for you all today. So tell me some of your health goals or concerns. And then I put the what else there, because if they say, if they spell out, oh, I have allergies and I just our whole family needs more sleep. And then with that, you jot it down. First of all, as they're saying these things, we're going to be writing them down. I knew most of what Harriet was going to say, but I still wrote them down. Because I told her to be easy on me. I'm just do sleep better and headaches. I was just for simplicity's sake. But you're going to write them down. That's the whole point of it, is making sure that we're going to connect the dots for them later on. But we want to ask what else, because they're going to give maybe one or two things in the beginning. And when we say what else, it'll probably be a little bit quiet. Don't interrupt them in their quietness of thinking. Just let them think a little more. And that's a good thing. It means that they're going to, that they are thinking a little bit more about what their health goals or concerns are. And can I just either raise your hand, give some head nods if you have gotten in the past a lot of oh, well, I'm pretty healthy, I don't know if I have anything. Has anyone gotten that before? I see a couple. I see some chats going off. So maybe, am I getting yeses? So one thing I want to mention, this is another one of those controversial topics, because can someone tell me what is in our presentations now, if you're not, I guess what we quote unquote say emergified, what have we been taught to do in doTERRA, honestly? First thing in front of the class or in front of a one-on-one. Does anyone know or can tell me about your experience? If we're teaching you to talk about their story first and get their input first.
Tell our why.
Yep. Tell our why, or tell our story. Why did we get into doTERRA, and what is our amazing story that's going to knock them off their chairs? And I think that whole, your health goals or concerns question, and when they come up with oh, I'm just pretty healthy, what we really think is happening is that they're contexting up to our story. So if we have these really incredible stories, which we know are totally possible. And with doTERRA products, like we totally all believe in the life-changing properties of doTERRA, right? And so we know that those stories are absolutely true, but to a customer, they're thinking things like, I don't know if I believe you. That seems a little too good to be true, so maybe I need to go research it. I'm going to have to think about this a little more with that incredible story, because it just seems a little, these are the skeptics that we come across. And the other thing is that they might be contexting up to a really incredible story. And so they're thinking, I don't have that. Like that doesn't apply to me. And so I think I'm pretty healthy compared to that. And so we definitely think that there's a time and place for our story to be told in a way. But as to Tom's point earlier, we want to make sure that the very first thing we talk about is them. So telling our story in the beginning is one, just like all about us. And that's not the point. It's not customer first centric. And two, it's a little risky because it starts bringing up objections before we even get started. And so a lot of those objections that we have wrote down at the beginning of this workshop, some of it has to do with our sales presentation, starting off with our story. So is everyone cool with that? Like, kind of side note comment. Another one of those telephone, games that people have been playing of like, Emerge is saying, don't tell her story. And that's totally not what we're saying. We're just saying we need to talk about them first. We need their story first before we tell ours. So hopefully I've talked enough so that you guys have written this all down. The last thing that we say is, what do you already know about doTERRA? Two reasons for this. One, we might get some misconceptions that we need to correct. You never know if they do have a bad, experience with doTERRA before. But usually it's like, I don't know, or I just see all my friends use it. But it's just an easy segue into talking about doTERRA. So what do you already know about doTERRA? Well, let me tell you a little bit about them. So here's where we start digging into the company story. So this first part, you guys, is pretty ninja, I think. When I first learned this, I was like, what? This is kind of mind-blowing. I don't know if you guys are having the same experience that I did, but it was just really cool to know that I could talk about doTERRA, but still be talking about my potential customer. And that's exactly what we're doing here. So the very first part of this is doTERRA is the largest essential oil distributor in the world. I think we all think that's true, right? I think it is truth. So that's what we lead off with. And that's just called our headliner. So, whatever company you are representing, you could like do whatever. But that's what doTERRA gets to say, which is super cool. So this is the cool part though, is the people turn to doTERRA when. And this is because the goal of this point is to get them head nodding through the entire thing, or at least to like 2 or 3 out of the 5 bullet points. So we want them to see themselves as a customer right away. Like, here are reasons why people are turning to doTERRA because their current approach to health. And these are 4 to 5 or I would say anywhere from 3 to 5 bullet points. And this is definitely where you can write these down and then make sure to adjust this to you and your target market. Most of the time, mine actually starts with moms turn to doTERRA when, because I'm talking to a lot of moms. And like, my husband is a personal trainer. And so he would say something like, people, trying to get their health together, turn to doTERRA. You can change it to anything. And that's what's super cool, because you can have these 3 to 5 bullet points that are going to relate to your customer, and they're going to immediately see themselves in this as a potential customer. Like, sweet. So if I see things I like, this is totally for me. So what does everyone think about this? Because I don't know. This is an exciting part to me because I think it's pretty new. And then we kind of have that like a little bit of a closing statement of doTERRA offers a full line. I'm just going to keep mentioning that word kit so that they know what we are going to be talking about today. Harriet, do you have anything to add to this?
I think you kind of hit it on. I think the important thing is as you go through it, like go through it yourself and you'll probably start nodding your head.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So.
Totally. Like, I need more energy. And I don't want to, take whatever.
I think one of the big things is because, there's a lot of people that really look and do the research, right? And look for natural options, and that being truly overwhelmed. I don't know about a lot of you, but I constantly go online and try to find natural stuff to clean and all sorts of stuff. So when she said that to me earlier, although we were role playing again, I was like, oh yes, that thing that I made, or something. So.
Yeah. So yeah, this is definitely something that you can tweak with and play with after, or even if anyone has other thoughts right now of bullet points that you would want to add in there that you think other people would too, go ahead and put them out there, in the chat. 'Cause again, the point is to have our scripts together, and we want it to be as you as possible and as to your target market. So if you have thoughts of really good bullet points that would get a potential customer nodding their head, put it in the chat, because then everyone can see and add that to their list. And the point I would say the goal of this part is just to make this part as natural as possible. When, just make it a conversation. Here are the reasons why people turn to doTERRA. And then kind of list off those bullet points. So I know this is a little bit of a longer slide. How are we doing? And let me see how I'm doing on time. I've got an hour. I think we're good. Let me see.
So yeah, Marion wrote, she's like, love it. If I wasn't a doTERRA wellness advocate already, I would definitely want to know more about doTERRA natural solutions. So.
Sweet. Great. Let me see the time. Oh, we are good on time. Yay. Almost perfect. I think we're actually right on time. This is awesome. Any other questions or thoughts while I just give a few more seconds to write? You could also do screenshots too, so you can write it down. But it is nice. I do like to allow the time to write because it'll help you process it a little bit more also. Are we all good? And again, I can go back, but we are on track, so I'm not so worried.
Is it okay to just read these to people, or do we need to memorize them?
Oh, you can totally read them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you can totally have your paper, even if it's just like an outline and you have the concepts memorized, or like your concepts or your go-tos. But either way, and we're really huge on acknowledging the awkward here at Emerge and being like, even when I said, I don't know if you were on already, I think you were, when I was just like, hey, I have my notes. I'm going to be looking down. I want to make sure that I don't miss anything for you today, and I want to stay on task. And that's exactly what you can say to your customer kind of during the agenda to, if people feel like they need to have it memorized, they certainly don't. But people can have it memorized if they want to. And thinking about our team also, how simple this would be to give them the permission also to do that same thing as a new builder. All right, I'm going to move on. So we are still on the company story. This is still part of the company story, and this is basically our differentiator. So why is doTERRA different? And you could even add that. So like this back when you would say, so doTERRA offers a full line of essential oil kits and to help you and your family, whatever your health needs are. That can be any clothes that you want. That's just the one that we had come up with. And so here's what sets doTERRA apart from all of the essential oils that you're seeing at the health food stores. You can lead it off like that. And then kind of go into, so basically what we're doing here is explaining CPTG and co-impact sourcing without actually saying those things. Because again, we're just making it as simple on our customer as possible. And CPTG, as much as we love it and know that it's valuable to our company and that our company has raised the bar, they've come up with an entire process and testing, system that does make sure that our oils are the best. To put it out there, CPTG is made up by us, right? And so we don't even why bring up that objection to a potential customer, especially a skeptical one, when we say CPTG and then they learn that it's like, oh, well, you came up with it. What does it matter? So we're just going to explain what it is that we're doing. We are doing tons of tests so that there's no pesticides and no fillers and no artificial ingredients. And it's ensuring that they're pure and potent. So just kind of laying this out there for them. And did anyone not know about this doTERRA guarantee? Because it is absolutely true. I'm curious if people didn't know about it, because I didn't, to be quite honest with you, after 2 years of being in doTERRA. It didn't. Everyone emphasizes the LLV guarantee, and there's a real guarantee that you can actually open a bottle and use it. And try something else if you want to, or even just get it 90% return back to your card. So, and I had never mentioned this in any classes, and I think this is super important for our customers. Even as Harry and I were role playing, and she was like, oh, I like that because it just immediately gets rid of that risk for them where they don't feel like they're stuck with an oil that they're not going to like or use. And we all know that rarely happens anyways. All right. I'll leave it on here a little bit longer. Ask me questions if you would like. And you can play with that. Like if you want to put in the number of tests in there, you can do that. I put various for this thing because I just feel like people had a lot of different opinions on exactly how many tests, depending on which ones you were thinking of. And so, I've heard like 6 and 7 and 13. And so I put this in here for the sake of this presentation. So you can actually put the amount if you would like. Trying to see if there's anything else that you can, different options.
Maybe someone should read it so they can hear what it sounds like.
Oh, yeah. Who wants to read it?
Who haven't we heard from?
I will. This is Marion.
Hi, Marion.
Hi. Okay. So doTERRA has raised the bar in the essential oil industry. There are no fillers, no artificial ingredients, and no pesticides. The plants are grown in their ideal environments all around the world, and the oils go through various levels of testing to ensure purity and potency. This means that when you see the doTERRA label, you can be assured you will see the highest health benefits. doTERRA also has great customer service. If you don't like it and return it within 30 days, you get 100% product credit to try something else, or 90% returned back to your card.
Awesome.
Thanks.
That does that sound pretty natural to everyone? Like, I mean, we're giving them the good stuff about doTERRA. So I loved the way that sounded. Are we all good with this slide? Thanks for doing that. And even as natural as that was, Marion, like the couple more times that you practice it before, like, you know, being in front of a customer, it just gets more and more natural. I mean, sometimes you just won't even be reading it.
Right. I would hope that would be the case. It would just start flowing really naturally.
Yep, it does.
Kristen, and then Sherry added that instead of various, you could use multiple. So like multiple levels of testing.
Perfect. I like that word too. Yeah, you guys, I think my favorite part about this workshop is please keep adding like different alternatives that you think up in your mind as you're like picturing yourself do that. This is my personal script, honestly. So it might just be my, you know, tendencies to say these certain words. So it's great to hear the different options that might just flow better for other people and or be a little more clear. So I love that. Thank you. All right, how are we doing on the script? And I think, so we've got, all we're going to do next is, the next one is, you know, personalizing the kits, and then we're going to do the close. So I think I just want to take like a 5-minute break to get some water. I don't want to get cotton mouth for the rest of this. So I will leave this up so that you guys can, you know, keep writing. And so let me see what time it is. So I show 11:03. Let's just meet back at 11:08. So just a quick 5-minute break so that we can, you know, get to the nitty-gritty of especially the close. I know people will have questions about the close, so I want to make sure we get to that. So go ahead, Harriet, you can pause the recording and we'll be like, where's Harriet? Stop share. Oh, let me see everyone's faces. Hi. Okay, everyone's back with me. It just felt so quiet and alone. I was like, what am I doing? Okay. Awesome. So now we're recording again, right? Yeah. We're going to jump into this part. This next section is going to be a tiny bit different just because, obviously this part is connected to their health goals. And so we're just going to give some phrasing that you can use. And we'll talk a little bit about what happens when you come, because we do want to explain all 10 oils. So what happens when you come across an oil that maybe they're not going to use every day or doesn't connect right to their health goals. So I will bring the presentation back up. I just wanted to, I don't know, just make sure everyone was still with me. So let me go ahead and share screen again. Notes. Here we are. Okay. So we're going to personalize the product. So I gave just a couple of phrases to start with. So you noticed when I was doing the role play with Harriet that I did mention, like earlier you mentioned, or earlier you talked about. So that's the first thing we want to do is connect the dots to their health goals, to that specific oil. So the best we can, we're going to connect as many of the oils back to their health concerns based off of what they gave us in the beginning. But not to worry if they, you know, don't give you a whole lot to work with. Or if you do come across an oil like oregano, which, I mean, she did mention the common cold. So I would definitely mention, like, you know, you talked about the common cold. Here's how you're going to use oregano. But But so I'll explain a little bit of how we would approach this. And this is really going to be that number 2 aspect, which is our go-to examples. And this may change based off of who you're talking to. So if I were talking to someone with young kids, I would use a lot of scenarios, involving people's kids. And so with peppermint, lemon, and lavender, I kind of put those out there. And the point of this is to make them as relatable as possible, where there are things that everyone deals with. But we want to put them in real life scenarios. So rather than saying oregano is going to boost your immune system, it's going to do this, it's great for our digestive tract, or, all of these things that we kind of bullet point for oregano, you're going to connect it to their health concern if it applies. And if not, you're going to say something like, so oregano is something that you're not going to use every day, but you're going to be glad you have it when your whole house is throwing up, or everyone comes down with the flu, or, or if you want to make it more compliant, like when winter is around and the germs are flying everywhere and you want to protect your family or whatever. So the point is to make it a real life scenario. So the bullet pointing or talking about lavender being the Swiss Army knife or frankincense being the king of all oils, like our customers who don't know about oils just don't understand that concept. And I think it's just hilarious when Tasha talks about the king of all oils, because her favorite oil is lemon. Well, besides Serenity, is lemon, because she uses it for everything. Like it's on she probably gets a couple bottles a month. And so like to her, lemon is the king of all oils because it's the one she uses all the time. So just to like not throw our customers off with these little catchphrases that we've come up with that just don't apply to them. They don't understand what the king of all oils means. They need a real life scenario. And so for this part, as far as writing down your script, I think just trying to come up with as many of those go-to examples as you can. So for peppermint, I usually use that snooze button scenario. And it relates to a lot of people. Like, do you ever want to try and wake up early in the morning and get your morning workout done? Lemon, because I'm always talking to moms with little kids, I do the sticker thing. With Harriet, I did, I knew she, doesn't have kids. And so I did the whole picture frame thing, or like a Sharpie getting somewhere. So she gets the idea. And she even in our role play was like, oh my gosh, that spot on my wall. Like I can go use lemon for that. So we just want to do the best we can of putting them in a scenario where they can picture themselves using the product rather than just having a list of possible uses for each product. And this is how we're going to keep it to 30 minutes, guys. So we're going to kind of like pretty much as soon as your customer gives you a couple of head nods, you can move on to the next product. Like they're on track with you. Yes, I can totally use that oil. I see myself using it. And then we can move on. Because they don't need to know every single thing about every oil. So how do we feel about this piece of it? And I want to get some opinions. So go ahead and unmute yourself or put it in the chat of this approach rather than having like the bullet point approach, having it be a little bit more personal and scenario driven, I guess I would call it.
I think this makes a lot more sense, and I could certainly feel more like I would even use oils more than, the common bullet point thing,
Yeah. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, and sorry.
No, go ahead.
Definitely personalizing it to the person. That's kind of redundant, but anyway, personalizing it so that they know how they can use it every day. Just like with Harriet, it wasn't like, hey, exactly what you said, you can use lemon for your kids for blah blah blah. You know what, if I'm a single woman or a married woman but I don't have any kids, I don't really care how lemon affects children unless I'm a school teacher. So I think just the practicality of showing people this is exactly how these products, because I know from my own experience in classes, I see that people kind of get lost. They drop off.
Yeah,
I haven't given them in tune, so they can't focus, right?
They zone out a little bit. Totally. Yeah, I totally get that, because it's just and that's what's great about the go-to examples of you'll be glad you have this when type of scenario, because for those oils that typically people would zone out on, like oregano, which we know is an awesome oil to have as you're in your toolkit at home, that's when people start glazing over, because it's just like a list of bullet points that they're looking at or that they're listening to. And so, I mean, you'll get, when you do this, you will get head nods and enthusiasm throughout the 10 oils, because you're making it so relatable to them. And even just like with Digestin, Digestin may not be one that you use every day, but you're going to be glad you have it when, you eat half a pizza at a birthday party, or you have like a big bowl of ice cream and you just put that on, rub it on your belly, and it's going to give you some relief within 90 seconds. Or, you make people smile, you make them chuckle, and they're like, heck yeah, I totally eat half a pizza at birthday parties. So yeah, how are we all on this one? And again, if you have some examples that you want to give in the chat, please do. That would be super awesome for everyone to have those scenarios that you could think of for any of the oils, any cool ones that you think of, put them in the chat. So how are we doing on this slide though?
I think some of them are still writing.
Okay.
So while someone's writing, who wants to read?
Yeah, does anyone want to practice this? Maybe Harriet can be your customer. This one's a little more brave. It's either this or practicing the close.
Yeah,
I'll be brave.
Twofold too, because I have oils, and I lost my little the family essentials kit. There's that flap, or when I got it, there was this flap that told me where it is. I don't know where it went. So when I have little things, I'm like, wait, which one do I use?
I'll be brave.
Okay.
Yay, be brave.
Because why not? Hold on a quick second. Sorry. I have this beautiful boy who's needing my attention too.
That's fine.
Okay. He's done.
Hello, bye-bye.
Hello, bye-bye.
Thanks, son. Okay. So, Harriet, are you ready?
Yes.
All right. I'm just going through the three main, right?
Yeah, you can go through even just these scenarios and just practice applying them.
Perfect. So, Harriet, when you get up early in the morning, you mentioned that you kind of get in a fog and you just want to hit snooze a few times. The best thing to do to help with that is your peppermint oil. Just take a little bit and put it on your hands and rub your hands together and inhale it, and it just invigorates your cells and helps your body wake up. Now, then your next step is to put contacts in. I would probably just recommend sniffing a little bit, not putting it on your hands, because it's probably not going to be conducive to sticking something in your eyeball. So if you're using contacts, definitely just take the bottle of peppermint. It's the same effect, and then inhale it. And when you put your contacts in, then you can put some on your hands and inhale it, and you can rub it on the back of your neck, and it'll just invigorate your whole body to get it ready for the day and just pump you up. And you could do the same thing like in the middle of the day, like at that 2-3 o'clock time when you don't want to reach for that cup of coffee because you've had so much caffeine already. You could do the same thing at that time. So that would be the best way to use peppermint for you to help you, in the morning and then in that mid-afternoon time. Lemon, earlier you mentioned that you have allergies and that the mucousy gross stuff in the back of your throat. Put a drop into your water and it will clear it right up. And as a preventative, so instead of just waiting for that mucousy stuff, if you just put a drop or two in your water bottle, like when you drink it, then it helps be preventative, so you don't even get that mucousy stuff, and it helps with your metabolism too, so you can break down the foods that you're putting in your body throughout the day. It's a great preventative, and it helps as well. And then the lavender, when you mentioned earlier that you kind of struggle with sleep every once in a while, if you put lavender on the bottom of your feet or put it in your diffuser, if you put it in your diffuser, the whole family gets the benefit of it, which is beautiful. And if you need just a little extra, then you just stick a little on the bottom of your feet. I like to put it like in between my toes too, just to get the full effect. And yeah, if you do that, then it'll help you just calm and soothe, and you'll sleep better.
Oh, thank you. That was good. And I mentioned a few things too, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I love that. The safety tips thrown in without is great, because obviously we still want to educate. So great job. And I think just like the point of all of this, and even with that role model, is to give really, because one of those, this is to like something, one of those reasons why people don't buy that we talked about in the beginning is just like the research, or I don't even know how to use these. Like, I don't think I'm going to use them. And so when we're giving them super simple everyday scenarios, they start to picture themselves like, oh, that's not so hard. It's not as hard as I thought. Especially when we're connecting it right back to their health goals first. So yeah, I loved that. Great job. So does anyone else have any thoughts about this before we move on, or questions? Does everyone feel good about this?
I got a yes.
Okay. All right. Cool. All right, I'm going to move on to the next slide, which is closing. So this is the part that we want to make easy. And the overarching concept of Emerge Sales Training closing technique is to make it easy by giving a choice of two. So for the sake of this webinar, and for the sake of being, for like the first time of being introduced to Emerge, or even doing this whole sales assembly line according to, like this process. For the sake of that, we're sticking with what's easiest, which is the family essentials and the home essentials, because it's the same 10 products that we just talked about. And it's essentially giving them the option of buying small bottles or big bottles. And so when it comes to someone making a decision, what's funny is I don't even have them on me anymore, but the enrollment kit flyers that have anywhere from like 6 to like 8 or 9 options on it. And that's usually what we hand them right at the end. And so we would just say that, has anyone tried to feed a toddler? Like, I have a 4 and a 2-year-old. And so I myself don't ever open up their fridge and ask them what they want for dinner. Like, what do you want? All of these options for you. I usually give them a choice of 2. Do you want hot dogs or hamburgers tonight? Or do you want this? Because I want them to feel like they do have a choice, but I'm not going to let them be overwhelmed by choosing, because I will never get an answer from a toddler. And so we kind of want to, funny enough, have the same approach to making it easy on our customer to buy. And this approach alone of giving just 2 choices is going to, that's going to eliminate a lot of the, I want to think about it, I need to research this, I need to talk to my spouse, because by this time you have built so much value for them and they want the stuff. So those excuses are real excuses most of the time. They want the stuff and they just don't want to make the wrong decision when we give them so many options. And so the reason why I said for the sake of this webinar is that the idea is that you give 2 choices so that they don't have to be these 2. They can be the natural solutions, the home essentials. They can be a couple of different options if you would like. But for the sake of keeping it simple, and what we suggest even starting off with until you get comfortable, are these 2. So how does everyone feel about that? Just this overarching concept of giving a choice of 2.
Really good.
Okay.
Keeps it simple.
Yeah, and I just want something that I didn't mention in the beginning of the whole, like, our goal. We have a hashtag in Emerge that's kits on dressers. So that is the ultimate goal, and what is truly customer first is getting a kit on their dresser, because they're not going to remember everything that we tell them in a presentation. And so if we send them home without making a decision, eventually they're going to be making a decision based off of like a quarter of the information that we gave them. Does that make sense? So it's kind of like having a piece of paper. So we give them all of this information, and then if they go home without having made a decision, because we've kind of made it difficult for them to make one and buy right then, a day goes by and then they're like making a decision based off of this amount of information. And then another day goes by or a day or 2, and they're making a decision based off of this. So then when we call them next week to follow up, they're making their decision based off of this amount of information. And that is probably going to be I think I just need to wait till I get paid. Those are the objections where they just don't see the value anymore. And so that's why we want to make it easy for them to buy with 2 kits, because what's better than walking away with one of these kits or with nothing? Because I feel like some people might be totally on board with the 2 kits thing, but I know it's hard for us to be like, oh, but there's so many great options, but we want them to walk away with something, because we know that that's customer first, is just getting a kit on their dresser. Because then what if my kid starts puking tonight? I want to be able to help them. So give me some opinions on this. I want to know what we think. And Harriet, please, there's so many nuggets I feel like that can come out of this whole closing section. So chime in when you have something to add.
So Kristen.
Yeah.
Hi. We're struggling with this part of it.
Okay.
Big time.
Okay.
So just being real. And
Totally.
We've received some training from a Blue Diamond way above us, who emphasizes starting with the most expensive kits and working back until you see their interest peak. I think Tom and I both, as we were sitting here talking, was like, I don't know how we can offer just 2 kits. It's such a mind shift.
Yeah. And so what would you think about offering the top 2 kits to start with? So the point of it is to offer 2 and then to drop down. So this is so basic because we're starting with the lowest 2. So it's only like one little drop down process. So the idea is if you did start at the like diamond kit and every oil kit, you would say, here are the 2 most, what's the word I'm looking for? Like most conclusive kits, or some word that's like, here is the most expansive, awesome, lifestyle change kits. And you would give them those 2 options, and then you would just do a drop down process. If they're just like, oh, that is just too much for me, then you would just drop down to like maybe the oil sharing kit or the natural solutions kit. And so as our skills advance, you can certainly start with the top 2 kits. So the idea is just not to overwhelm them with all of the information, like all of the kit options at once, but to make it easier on their brain to process the option of 2. So then you would just keep dropping down. So as long as you're comfortable with that drop down process, certainly start at the top. Does that make sense, or does that help?
That does help. And remembering back to me, I was focused on a dollar sign, and now I share with people, and it's been effective a couple times. I wish I had gotten the most expensive kit I could not afford. And they're like, you could not afford? And I said, yes, knowing what I know now. I started with, they don't even have the kit. I started with, it had LLV and I had no oils, just the LLV and something else. I don't even remember. And we were able to sell 2 really large kits by starting at the back of the brochure, recently. So, want to make sure we're able to present choices, but I do see the logic behind this. I will say that.
Awesome. Okay. Thanks so much for your honesty. Do you think that you would try, like that you could try this with the option of 2 with the big kits and then like dropping down? I mean, even just to test it out and see if that helps, because even if they don't, I think it's, and maybe Harriet, a little bit more about this. Harriet is the one with the extensive sales background. So I might turn it over to you, even Harriet, to give more opinions, but I think it's like the second or third option that they'll usually go with, no matter where you start. So starting at the top, I mean, I imagine you would sell some of those and then mostly have like the Natural Solutions kit be your like main selling kit, just because you started up, at the higher levels, just because of that like drop down statistic in the sales world. But Harriet, I would love to hear what you have to say if you have any.
And so, of course. And then Sherry also wrote in the chat, she's like, can you determine which kit would be best based on your conversation? So this kind of goes to what you were saying, Lisa. Depending on the conversation, let's say I think there's one for, I may make this wrong. Is it not aroma, but
the
emotion?
Aroma Touch diffuse.
Aroma Touch.
Oh,
or like emotion or something, I think, right? And so if you find like that's their need, then you definitely want to present that kit, but then also present like a comparable kit and then go from there. So what we're doing now, because these are the 2 basic ones, it just gives you a starting point so that you can develop the skills. And then we encourage you to definitely, like, if the LLV is one of the ones that you prefer to, start with another one, then do that and then drop down as we show you in the close. So just remember to tie it back in to the customer's needs and then what makes sense in the conversation.
All right. How does everyone feel about this drop-down process? We definitely, as you will see in just a minute, we always offer a first appointment special type of deal. And you can do that with your customers just to give them that little perk and a bit of, it's a way to not be super, super pressured, but may give them that urgency to buy today. So how do we all feel about all of this? And how are we doing with writing it down?
I like that it not only simplifies for the customer, it also simplifies for us. Because then I can go in, like, let's say I know the emotional oils and the LLV oil packs like the back of my hand. So then I can present the 2 things that I know really well. And it's not as overwhelming, like, oh my gosh, now I need to figure out what this person, okay, is this person needing the emotional, like you can start more basic for everybody involved, especially when you're at the beginning of the journey and you're trying to grow your business, learning what's in every single one of those kits can be overwhelming for us as the advocates as well.
Definitely. So, I love that. I love that. Especially, of course, continuing to go back to that customer first, team second mindset. So even with like Tom and Lisa, I think being able to teach your team, here's the concept, let's start here, because it's a super easy choice, big bottles or small bottles for our customer, and then we'll skill up, and And then eventually they get to the diamond and every oil kit as part of their presentation. You just have to be, obviously the reason we don't do that here is because, I mean, you got to be pretty confident to say, here are two here are two of our popular kits, every oil and diamond kit, and then be comfortable with the no and the drop down process. So it's definitely that we want to do our best in giving that choice of two.
So I'll just add, Kristen, that I realized in doing it is that my limiting belief about what they could afford limited their choices, and I needed to stop doing that.
I see.
So
yeah, definitely.
That's where it shifted for me. So
yeah, so I can see, like, are just hearing of, starting at the top so we don't limit our customers. Yeah, I totally understand that. Thank you. How are we doing with writing this part down? Or even screenshotting it? And we talked a little bit about that those last little intro kits, and that's completely, I think, your business decision. If you want to kind of have a cash and carry, or if you want to make a little kit with the enrollment. So $55 to enroll with the basic lemon, lavender, peppermint kit. Does that feel okay to everyone? We definitely need something in that smaller price point if you need to drop all the way down. It's kind of like sampling. All right. I'm going to give you those adjustments for classes, because I want to make sure that you have those down too. Oh, and then they buy. My other friends made. But wait, what about classes? So let me just give you the adjustments that we recommend. So for the agenda in a class, so there's kind of a little bit of a difference between a class of 2 to 4 people and then a class of 5 or more. So I would say in a class that's little, like 2, 3, or 4 people, you could almost do the exact same thing. And I would just give the time frame of 45 minutes as opposed to 30 minutes. And the one thing that I would say is most important to add to the agenda is kind of what I did with us today, giving that agenda, or that housekeeping rules of here's what we're going to cover today. If there are questions or certain health concerns that that you want some more details on, or that we would need a little more one-on-one time, let's just, for the sake of time and to keep all of us on track and to respect all of our time, to say, to do that one-on-one after the class for a little bit. Something along those lines where it's like, here's what we're going to talk about today. For the sake of time, I just want to respect your time. I want to keep us on task today, so that I make sure we cover all of the content for you guys. So just to kind of give that little bit of housekeeping rules, and that's just right then is going to eliminate the crazy tangents that our customers lead us on in classes, and help to kind of categorize those people that might have, the bigger health concerns that you do want to talk about one-on-one, or even they might not be comfortable enough to say their health concerns in front of the class. And so to that point, with the agenda, so that's like the agenda piece, I would say, change it to 45 minutes, maybe add that housekeeping rule of the questions and tangents that your class might lead to. But the input is, I would say with a smaller class, you can kind of do it the same way. And I would suggest just having a piece of paper and almost like a seating chart where you can point back to those specific people. So if I had you know, like Harriet, Lisa, and Tom, because Lisa and Tom, you're still the ones that I'm seeing right now. Like if I had the three of you guys in a class, I would just say the same thing, because I really want to personalize this class to you guys today. I want to talk about some of your health goals. And so then I would just ask, so like, Lisa, can you tell me one or two things that you're, you know, that you came here hoping to, you know, solve with essential oils or solve naturally? So depending on your class size, you can just open it up to saying, tell me all the stuff, or tell me one or two things if you have a little bit of a bigger class. So that way, if you have 5 people, then you have anywhere from 5 to 10 health concerns to work with when you're doing the presentation part. So how does that feel for everyone? That input piece. Awesome. And then the company story is the same. You would just tailor it to if you did have a certain demographic there as a class. Like if they were all moms, like you're talking to a mommy group or something, you would obviously say moms turn to doTERRA when. Otherwise, it's just going to be the same, like people turn to doTERRA. But if you did have like a certain class you were talking about, or a certain topic that you were focusing on, you could adjust that piece. The products, that's basically just personalizing it to the whole class. So you got down all of their, 1 to 2 health concerns. And so I can say, Harriet, earlier you mentioned that you're having trouble with sleep. Who else is having trouble with sleep here? People raise their hands. And then you can say lavender is awesome for that. You're going to put it in your diffuser. You're going to put it on the bottoms of your feet or your family's feet. So it's the same thing. And I think what's so impactful about this piece of it is that they are truly engaged, because we are talking about, we told them we were going to personalize it to them. And that's exactly what we're doing in this piece. So calling them by name and saying like, even if all 3 of you, Lisa, Tom, Harriet, all of you guys had mentioned sleep, I think we all struggle with sleep, right? So here's what you're going to use for that. And so what do you guys think about that, as opposed to kind of like listing off the bullet points of all of the things lavender is good for? Does that make sense? Like the difference between kind of the bullet point thing and the personalization thing? So that's what you would do there. And then the close is exactly the same, except for you just won't do the drop down process in front of the whole class. So you'll have your 2 kits that you're going to present as options, and then you would kind of categorize them. If you know exactly what kit that you want right now, go ahead and start filling out this form, and I'll make sure to help you make sure we got that together. And then if you do need help making a decision or want to see other options, I'll come sit down and help you walk through that. So it's the same, and like really trying to keep it to 2 main kits while we're there. But then being able to do a one-on-one process with people so that they can see other options. Or if you know that someone is looking more for a lifestyle change, in classes, I would certainly, once you get the skills down, at least do the natural solutions and the home essentials. And the cool thing about those 2 options, and the way that, like just a little nugget to take aside, is to categorize them. So people will put themselves in a category right away. If you say, I'm going to show you the kit, the lifestyle change kit, or the solve your everyday problems kit, because people will immediately put themselves in that category. And if they're a lifestyle, like if that's what they came looking for, they know that the natural solutions kit, or even the, every oil kit, is going to be the kit that they're going to consider. And then there's people that are not looking for a lifestyle change. They just want their problems solved. And maybe the things that they've been using aren't working. And so we're going to make them feel okay with that option too. Just kind of starting off with the everyday problems, and maybe they'll become, lifers after that. So, all right, let me see where we're at. Perfect. We got 15 minutes left. Do we have any questions about this before I kind of let you know what next steps with Emerge, are available to all of us? Any
Which
questions?
one do you offer as the everyday kit, the everyday problem kit then?
Home Essentials.
Okay.
Yeah. If I'm going to go that route, like if I'm going to start with kind of natural solutions, like if I'm going to bump up, like skill up, that's the two I'll do. And then the drop down is just like one extra drop down. So it's natural solutions, home essentials, family essentials, and even Aroma Touch diffused, which is an awesome one as well. And then down to the cash and carry, or just like that intro kit. Yeah. All right, how are we doing? Awesome. Oh, I've already done the question and answer, but let me know if there's any more questions. And Harriet, you can answer questions in the chat. And Harriet, before I get into, wrapping this up, do you have anything to add?
I'm on mute.
Are you busy with the chat?
No. This is good. I mean, for the most part, I just, again, go through the script and really make it you. And I stress that in the program that I coach through, is go through it, practice. I always say practice, implement. Because the more you do it, the better you are. And then I think someone mentioned earlier, can I read it? I was like, yeah, you certainly can read it, but there's probably going to be a point where you're not even going to need your notes. Mm-hmm. It just comes out so naturally, and you truly believe what you say. And when you do that, it comes out that way. So.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay. So if you do have questions, please, chat away, and Harriet will help you out there. So I'm just going to talk about next steps with Emerge. So we believe that the next steps are learning the foundational skills for selling and leading with support. And the highlighted part there is selling, first of all, because we do sell something. And support is what I'm going to talk about a little bit. So what makes Emerge different, just from all of the other network marketing training companies out there, is it's not just what works for me or for Harriet or even just for Tasha. It's just what works because it's, founded in science. It's a deep dive into customer psychology. And a lot of that is in the main course of why we're saying the things that we're saying, and why it's scripted out in certain ways. And that we are here for you. We have a team of sales coaches, like you've experienced from, Harriet today, who are here to be a guide and answer questions and help troubleshoot the content that is learned in the full course. And also that this is built for people with no sales experience. And with that being said, it is for the new people or people with no sales experience. But what's also great about this is for our leaders that are here. Sometimes with our leaders, it comes so naturally, and it's just kind of innately in us to know what to say and how to conduct our businesses, that it's hard to break it down and to teach it. And so that's what this course is for too, is to make it simple and so that you're able to coach your team through these concepts as well. And then here's what's in the course. So we have 8 weeks of content. The first week is Stop Feeling Crazy. And this is getting our business organized. So truly learning how to use our planner, profit and loss, talking through profit and loss and how to make decisions on our business. And we also have a sales tracker. So does anyone even know what your closing percentage is, or what your average order is? So that is a piece, that's a really we advocate for that, for knowing our sales stats, because there's no sales company ever that doesn't track their stats. So we want to make sure that we're tracking our own for our business. The second is setting appointments. So that's kind of what we went over today, but it's different kinds of appointments, how to set, your wish list appointments, how to set the, recruiting or business conversation. We'll talk about show rates, how to increase show rates, little tips and nuggets for that. And then 3 and 4, this is the bulk of what we did today. And so the idea of the course and the group coaching that we'll show you is that you'll just have a coach to be able to troubleshoot these things and ask the questions that you guys were asking today as you continue to mold your script. So a lot of 3 and 4 is the basics of what we did today. 5 is referrals. This week is actually called Too Many Customers to Call, I think. Is that what it's called, Harriet? I think Too Many Customers to Call. So this is the idea that a lot of people in network marketing run out of their warm market pretty quickly and then have a hard time figuring out where to find these people. So you're thinking to yourself, this is so great. I love that I have this script, but who in the heck do I talk to? So we're going to teach how to ask for referrals at the end of that one-on-one presentation because people will give them. There's actually a stat that's 91% of customers are willing to give referrals, but only 11% of sales people ask for them. So we'll teach you a comfortable way to do that. 6 is customer retention. We're going to talk about that wellness consult, how to explain LRP and how to take care of our customers and do making sure that we're giving them continuing education and to have a system in place, like a customer CRM, relationship management or something. My brain's not working with those letters right now. So customer retention and having a system to check in with them. Recruiting, obviously a big piece. We're basically taking all of the concepts and skills that we learn and applying it to recruiting. And then we have leading and developing your team. So learning how to coach them through this whole process yourself. So here's what we offer. It's that 8-week course with live group coaching. Like we mentioned, the support piece of it is kind of what we pride ourselves on at Emerge, that we offer such high contact and high touch support through the program. And here are 2 of the groups that we have starting this next week and then the week after. The 5-10 group is, so basically if you choose one of these groups, you're basically choosing the day and time weekly that you would be meeting live. The online course content is all 8 weeks. You can go week by week. You can binge the whole thing. That's the online course content. And then the live group calls and the Facebook group that's specific to your group is for all of the troubleshooting and the supports. So the 5-10 group, I believe, Harriet, right? That's your group. 5-16 is actually Kasha, another sales coach of ours. And let me see, what is the next slide? Okay, so we're probably freaking out a little bit because high contact support, group coaching, and an 8-week online course must be, bajillions of dollars. Just kidding. Okay, so here's what we offer it for. It's $297 paid in full. We also offer a payment plan. So that obviously you can see is not interest, on top of that, it's $300 either way. So those are, your 2 options. I will go to that website in just a second. If Harriet, can you put in just www.emergesalestraining.com/YDSF. So that's where we're going to go register for either of the groups. And I'm just going to let Harriet copy that to type it in. Are you good, Harriet? Okay, awesome. And then, of course, like I mentioned, we have this fast action bonus or first appointment special. So we have just over time in having our doTERRA customers, which these groups will be doTERRA specific, by the way. We have built like another doTERRA specific course content just with extra things like how to have, we actually have a full script on selling that natural solutions kit, or just the concepts of how to sell the bigger kits. Script on how to explain lifelong vitality in a way that's easier for customers to understand and making it easy for them to buy it, and how to close at big classes. So some of the nuggets that I gave you today, but Kasha, who is another doTERRA rep, she's really great at classes, and so she is having one soon, and she's going to record it, and we're going to put it in this course so that you can see it from one of our coaches. And in order to get this free or this package for free, which we sell for $59, you would just pay in full and register by Monday the 8th, and you would use this code. And I'll show you where you would add that code in. So let me see. Okay, so I'm all done there. I'm going to stop screen share, and then I'll screen share the other page. So how are we all doing? I'm going to go to that website that Harriet put in there. So just so I can show you what exactly you would do. And especially that first appointment, like that coupon code, you guys, oh man, this platform just needs to make it a little easier on our customers because it's easy to miss. So, but not to worry if you, let me go to my desktop actually, because I'm going to pull up different screens. All right, you guys see this? So this is where that link is going to take you. You can kind of read through this if you would like, but basically you're just going to click that and it'll take you down to these pricing options. This $197 is the online course that I went through, those 8-week modules, and it's just without the group coaching support. We obviously recommend this because does anyone know the stat of the online completion course rate? Like out of everyone who buys an online course to go through, how many people actually complete it, or what percentage of people? Does anyone know? Any guesses?
50%.
50%. Anyone else? I don't think you'll believe it. 3% of people actually 100% complete their online course. And that is why we are passionate about having this support and accountability and a group to be a part of. And so 50 to 60% of our students complete the course that are in this group training. So here are the 2 group options, May 10th, May 16th. You're going to click on choose your group, and that's going to take you here to one of these options. And then just to note that these are the 4 pay options right here. So I'm going to click on this one actually, and hopefully it doesn't. Oh, yay. Okay. So you're going to create a password, or some of you already, actually all of you guys have one because you bought this course. Okay. So I'm going to say I already have an account. I'm going to put in my personal one. What is my password? Because I really just want to show you guys that bonus.
And then Terry, while Kristen's doing that, I'm going to share your question. So Terry asked me how long each of the classes are, or I guess group coaching. Group coaching is an hour long. And so it's weekly for 9 weeks. It'll be in that same time each week. But then in addition to, you're part of a Facebook group. And so during the week or within the week, I'm on there answering questions, or the other coaches are. And then we also do Facebook Live. So if there's specific questions that we feel that everyone would benefit from, or just reiterating some of that content that we went over that week, I'll go ahead and do some Facebook Lives, which will allow for interaction if you're on during that specific time as well. So with that.
All right, everyone pay close attention. So right here, it says have a coupon. So you have to click on that to bring up this little coupon box. Why they don't just have this here, I don't know, but you do have to click on that coupon code box, and you're going to put in 5-6 closing to represent today's closing. That'll, be our indication that you were at today's closing workshop, and you'll click apply, and it'll look super silly because it'll just take $1 off. And that's because adding that bonus package is a manual process. So we will just see this code, we'll go into your account, we'll add that bonus package, give us 48 hours for that. And yeah, so just so you know that it's going to be weird that it just takes off $1. It's just a little trigger for us on our end. So awesome. Is Vicky still here? Halfway through, I noticed oh, Vicky. So Vicky's going through our course.
No, I'm still here.
Yay. Okay. I would love for you to just give us your experience and even some stats if you have any.
Well, now you're asking the hard questions with the stats.
Oh, you don't have to give stats. Just give us your experience.
It's okay. So I took the training about 2 months ago, I guess. And I can just tell you, I have never closed as many people as I closed. I've never enrolled in as many people as I did last month. My calendar is booked. I am 2 weeks out, which is insane. I have 5 classes booked in the next 6 weeks. So this training has completely changed how I do my business. I don't word vomit on people anymore, which is a huge plus. I have a plan. I stick to that plan. I have a script. I always go back to that. And so I highly recommend it if you were like me. And so I'm not selling. I'm not going to be a salesperson. It takes the pressure off because it really is about serving your customer, which is what I've always been about anyway. So it just finally gives me that freedom to concentrate on them, which helps them. So
awesome.
I highly recommend it.
Thank you. I chatted with you on the side. I was like, oh my gosh, because I didn't see you pop on. And I was like, I would just love it if you shared your experience with us. So thank you for.
You're welcome.
I super appreciate it. All right, guys. Does anyone have any questions before we kind of shut off this recording? And of course, I'll stay behind if anyone needs to see the slides or anything like that. Any comments or questions, feedback, anything? And of course, you can pop off. I know it's 12:04, but hey, that was pretty good on time, right? We wrapped that up right at 12. That is so awesome. So any questions that would be valuable to keep on this recording at least, and then we'll shut it down. Thanks, Terry. Tasha taught me well, right? Okay, one more slide. Any other questions before we stop the recording? Great information. Thank you. You're welcome. Thanks for being here. Awesome. Cool. Yeah, I think we can stop the recording, Harriet. And then for those of you who do need to hop off and get along with your Saturday,